Well, there's no problem. If you had a gun, shoot him in the head.
Welcome to Shoot Me Straight. Dave Fields, Eddie Gallagher. We're here with our buddy, Trell Webb. I'm super excited about this one. Trell is become a pretty good friend over the last couple months, and we've been trying to get him on this podcast for a while, and now we got him. We got him and his team to come down from Atlanta. His story is going to be, I know bits and parts of it, but I'm really excited to hear it as a whole. And this is Eddie's first time to even meet him.
Yep.
So
yeah, it's been good. Hey, it's an honor. I'm glad you guys came down, drove all the way down from Atlanta.
Yeah.
We appreciate that. Yeah.
Grateful to be here. It feel like me and Eddie been knowing each other already for a long time, right? So it may be the Frenchie connection.
That's right.
Connection. So man, I'm grateful to be here.
Awesome.
Grateful to have me and my team here, Dave. So thank you.
Yeah. So did you grow up in Atlanta?
No.
Where'd you
so
grow
I moved
up?
to Atlanta. I grew up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I grew up in Louisiana. I moved to Atlanta, me and my wife and my kids, in 2008, and I've been there ever since.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So I'm from Louisiana, but I love Atlanta.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And so the first time I was introduced to you, it was, hey, he's Lil Boozy's cousin or brother. Or?
So Boozy is my first cousin.
Got it.
And if you where I'm from, Dave, like we from the streets. And so if your first cousin and you grew up in the same house, you say brothers.
Got it.
So everybody think this is my brother, my little brother, but it's really my sister. Our mamas are sisters.
Gotcha.
That's my first cousin. We grew up in the same house together.
Gotcha.
So that's my man, though.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. What was it like growing up there in the streets of?
Oh man, so I come from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We like cross the street from LSU, the college campus, and it was horrible. I grew up seeing dead bodies. I grew up at a time to where crack cocaine was an epidemic in our neighborhoods, to where it ran through families, killed families off. So I grew up seeing that. I grew up in a single-parent home. I had a great dad, but him and my mom divorced. So my dad wasn't in the house. And so my role models was pretty much the dope dealers and the robbers and the killers and stuff. That's all I saw. Yeah. So it was pretty much like that for me. So I started in them streets young. Started in the streets.
How old were you when you were first started?
9. So I witnessed, I found my first dead body at 9 years old. I was going to pick up some bread. Mom told me to go pick up some bread from the store, a loaf of bread, and there was this guy that was stabbing this woman over 50-something times, and just so happened I'm pulling up while he's doing it. And so I witnessed that at 9 years old. And that was the first time that that was pretty much one of the things that kind of opened my eyes to what it was like. And so at 11 years old, I was playing with a gun with my cousin, and I was shot in my stomach. I was paralyzed. From 11 to 13 years old, I was paralyzed. They said that I'd never be able to walk again. So I was shot in my stomach with a .44.
Were you in a wheelchair during that time?
Yep. From 11 to 13. So I used to have to wear a colostomy bag.
Mm-hmm.
And so the doctor said that I'd never be able to walk again.
Dang. Well, how did you end up walking again? Obviously, you walked in here.
Yeah, right. But I love to share this part of my life because I had a praying grandmother. This is how I first knew that prayer worked, like God was real. My grandmother, I went through 5 major surgeries, and I remember on the 5th time, they was about to push me out and take me to go have the operation. And my grandmother, she would always come to the hospital, though, but she would bring her friends with her, her church friends with her, right? They were always praying. They used to be in the corner praying, and I'm like, here they go again. Like, I'm in pain. Like I need some medicine, but she would always pray. And I remember this specific day, she was like, when they was pushing me off, she was like, Trell, she said, do you think God can heal you? And I looked up at her like, Dave, I wasn't about to say no. You know what I'm saying? But, like, Big Mama give you this look to where, like, you know she mean business. Mm-hmm. So I knew she was serious. So I remember looking up at her, and I was like, yes, I think God can heal me. So I went to the surgery and I came out. When I went and I came out the surgery, it was like a dream at the time because the medicine wore off for me. I had IVs and stuff in me. But my grandmother used to be kind of selfish, y'all. So like only one person can stay in the hospital. Like she would not let nobody else stay in this hospital with me. But my grandmother, God bless her soul, and I always laugh at this part because she was a snorer. So like my grandmother had this thing where she snore real loud. And so she sleep on the couch. And something funny happened, like something that hadn't happened in years. Man, once the medicine wore off, I can feel my toes tingling. I can feel my legs start to move. I hadn't felt this in years. I'm like, hold up, like this thing real. So I'm trying to reach over there to her to touch her, and she just like, she just snoring loud, right? So I get out the bed and I get over there, touch her, and she jumped up like she saw a ghost hugging me and stuff. And so that's how I learned how to walk again.
Wow.
It's through prayer.
Yeah.
That's why I say, man, prayer work.
Yep. Don't underestimate the power of prayer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Yes.
Would you say that's your first miracle you experienced? First big one?
I think that was my second. The first one was, because what I didn't share is that once I saw the guy stabbing that lady, he ran behind me. And the miracle was I never jumped that many fences and ran that fast in my life. I don't know how I got away. It was a miracle that I ran that fast and I got away. And so that was the first one. But the second one was that, like, for me personally, to see the hand of God, I was paralyzed. It was no hope. Like, it was over. I had to went through these surgeries. Doctors gave up on me ever walking again. So that was the first time that I actually saw God perform a miracle. The first of so many that have happened since then.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that was the first time, actually.
After that, what was the progression at 13 when you?
So from 11 to 13, I was paralyzed in a wheelchair. And so once I learned how to walk again, Dave, where I'm from, if you survive a gunshot wound, like, I thought I was going to be, like, the biggest gangster in the world now, right? You know what I'm saying?
You got
like,
some clout behind you.
Yeah, like, I'm about to come out. Can't nobody tell me, which is so crazy now that I look at it. So I went back to the hood and started hanging with the wrong crowd, doing the wrong things, man. And I found myself at 15 years old hanging with the wrong crowd, and I was charged with murder and 2 counts of armed robbery. And I thought that if I just go to the precinct, don't open my mouth, that I was going to come home. And at this time, Boosie wasn't no rapper. Like, we didn't have no money or nothing. But I just knew from the streets, don't go in there and say nothing. I just know I didn't do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I just shut my mouth, man. And but I ended up having to go to trial with a public pretender because we didn't have no money, you know.
That public pretender, I like that.
You know. We didn't have no money for the right representation, so I got found guilty. And I was sentenced to life plus 90 years in prison without the benefit of probation or parole. So I got life plus 90 years at 15 years old, and I was sent to Angola, one of the bloodiest prisons in the world in Louisiana.
Damn. How long were you in Angola for?
So I did 5.5 years on a life sentence.
So how was that? How was that time in Angola?
Man, it was crazy because I heard all the stories. You hear the stories before you get there, you know, because nobody never come home there. Like, so right now I get a chance to travel to different prisons in different states, and, you know, they have parole, so at least they have hope. Well, here, there is no hope. So you go in here, you never see nobody go home. My rap sheet didn't have an out date, nothing but zeros. So I'm like, I'm never going to get out of here. One of the work sites that we had to do was dig graves for people. So, like, if a person been in here so long, our job was to dig the grave if the family don't want them so they can bury them on the prison grounds. So this was my hope. This was all I knew. And so, man, it was bad. Me seeing people get stabbed up in there. It was bad. It was.
What was like your mindset at the time? You just being in there, obviously, where you're in there for life without parole, life plus 90 years.
Yeah.
No hope. Were you just I'm going to adapt to this place and survive and try and
I did
get in where you fit in?
Yes. And so the first day I got there, I got off the bus and I stabbed somebody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because
Yeah.
I'm about to make a name for myself. For one, I'm little.
Yeah.
For two, I'm about to be a man. Like, I'm going to survive in here. Like, I'd heard these stories, but I'm not about to get raped. I'm not about to get picked on. So I knew one thing. I have to make a name for myself. And so I got off the bus. I was just wilding out, fighting. I stabbed somebody the first time. And instantly I earned some respect in there. I earned respect in there. And so you know how it go. Like, if you're in prison and you do what you got to do, that carry weight in there.
Yeah.
So I didn't have too many problems afterwards.
Yeah, and I don't think people understand. I mean, unless you've been in that situation, and I, obviously we talked beforehand. I did 9.5 months, but nothing like in Angola. Like, it was not close to being in a prison like that. But there's still that same mindset where you go in, you're like, okay, you're in a whole new ecosystem where there's no rules. I mean, there's the rules that are put on you by the guards and by the actual prison itself, but within the population, like within the other prisoners, it's like it's a whole different ecosystem where you're like, okay, you need to adapt. And that is like the first thing when I remember the first time I came in, I was like, okay, I got to do something here to make sure people know that I'm in charge. And I mean, it's crazy that mindset, it's probably all through all prisons, it's because it's a different place. And I try to explain it to people. I'm like, it's just once you have all your rights taken from you and you have nothing else, I'm like, you're willing to do anything. Yeah.
Survival.
Yep.
And that was my thing, because I wasn't, like, I come from a great family.
Mm-hmm.
Like, like I have some friends, and I share this now, I have some friends that they didn't care. Mm-hmm. Like, they will chew your head off and wouldn't care. That wasn't who I was. Like, I come from a great family. I just was a product of my environment. I just got caught up. And so when I ended up in this prison, I didn't want to be here. Like, I'm really scared to death in here, Like,
yeah.
They didn't know.
Well, that, and you were a kid.
Yes, and I'm a kid. I'm 15. By the time I make it there, I'm literally 16 years old. I weighed 108 pounds.
Jeez.
I was like 5 foot. Well, I haven't got that much taller. I'm just sitting in this tall chair, but I weighed, man, like 110 pounds or something, man, like 5'4", and it was like these grown big old men that work out all the time, And I was placed in this jungle with all of these people, and I'm this little kid, and so it was survival for me. It was survival for me, man. I used to cry when people didn't know. Even though I was stood up, like, how I go when them lights go out, man, I would cry. And all I used to think about was, man, my mama told me this. My mom used to try to tell me this. The older people used to try to tell me this. But I didn't listen. So I landed in that prison.
So you're in there for 5 years?
Yep, I stayed in there for 5 years.
But did you have thoughts in there of going, man, why didn't I say something?
The entire time.
I mean,
because as I was in there, nobody saw me. They got this keep it real stuff and sticking to the cold stuff. Now that I know what I know, because I'm totally different, but nobody saw me. Mm-hmm. Nobody put no money on my books. Nobody brought me a lawyer. Nobody wrote me a letter. Nobody checked on my mom. So I'm sitting here like, oh, my God, like, and just seeing so many other people coming in for the same thing with the same story. But you don't hear this because the people that can share this light with you, they're locked away.
Yep.
So if someone could have showed me, and this, oh, wait, let me share y'all about this. This was so cool. Well, not cool, but this was the realness about it. I went on a field trip when I was in the 7th grade. They round up all the bad people in the school, like the trouble kids in the school. I was one of them, Eddie, right? And so they put us on this bus. And when they put us on this bus, they took us to Angola. I didn't know nothing about it at the time. They took all of us there. And so I don't know if you guys saw Scared Straight.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
So it was like
sounds
that.
Like Scared Straight. Yeah.
It was like Scared Straight back then, before Scared Straight came out. And so I remember they took us here, and like me and my friend, I was kind of like a class clown at the time in school. So I was being disruptive inside of one of the built guys trying to talk to us. And so they put me outside of the room. And they had this steel door, so I couldn't hear what was going on. So afterwards, everybody came out. We went back to the school. How about when I came to this prison, I came in the jail. I put my stuff on the bed. They had this guy, though, that had like this big old afro. And like he come walking by, and he was just kind of staring at me. I'm like, oh, God, like, this is not about to be great, you know? But he was like, hey, little one. I'm like, what's up? He like, man, look like I know you. I'm like, bro, you don't know me, bro. Like, you don't. He was like, man, he like, you ever came here? And I'm like, yeah. How about he was the guy that was trying to talk to us? I ended up coming back with more time than him.
Dang. That's crazy.
And I would sleep on side of him, and I would be looking at him like, man, if I would have just listened to this guy that day, I wouldn't be in this situation. I came back with 3 times more time than this guy that tried to talk to me. So I always share now when I'm going around speaking and stuff, like, pay attention. Even with this podcast, I pray that somebody pay attention, because this may be the podcast that can save your life. Mm-hmm. If I would have listened to that guy that day, it would have saved my life from coming back in there maybe, you know. So.
Yeah, I mean, and it's hard, too, because, I mean, how you were like, 15, 16? Yep. I mean, I have a 13-year-old right now who is pretty much a clone of me, and I get it. Like, you try and tell them life lessons, and they just look at you like you don't know anything, and I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And, you know, and I realize that. And I wonder, like, if there's a way to, like, you know, besides the scared straight thing, I'm like, okay, well, I'll take you there and show you where you're going to end up if you keep going down this path or keep doing this stupid stuff. But these kids, teenagers, man, right now also. Yeah, they and know better, you know, and they're going to do what they're going to do. And all I really do is just, you know, pray for it. You know, I'm like, just pray to God, be like, dude, just keep protecting him and watch over him. You know. So
Sheppy and Ryan, if you're listening, this podcast is for you.
Yeah. Listen, I go through that too, and one of the things that does give me hope though, Ed, is that look how we turned out.
Yeah.
You know, like, God is real. For us to be sitting here at this podcast, quite sure our stories that made it to this place. That's what God gave me the hope. Like, if I did it for you,
yep,
I'm the same God.
Oh.
You know, so yeah.
Yeah, he loves our kids more than we love them.
Yes,
that's wild to even think about. Yes, how can someone else love my kids more than me?
Yeah,
God does.
Yeah.
So, you're in prison there.
Yep.
5 years in.
Yeah.
Did you start trying to make appeals? Like you started trying to get, hey, now I want to talk about it. Like,
yeah,
it wasn't me.
So from the time that I went in there, I never accepted the fact of just never not trying to come home. Mm-hmm. I just didn't have no hope or no faith at the time that it was going to happen. Mm-hmm. But from the moment I got found guilty, that day I filed an appeal. Yeah. The district court, they shut it down because they the ones that just convict you. Mm-hmm. So automatically they're going to deny you.
Yep.
So they sent it to the circuit court. The first circuit court, they denied me. So, you know, you got to wait like years. So you may file an appeal, and then you got to wait 1.5 years to even hear anything. So you file it, they denied. Waited again, so those times I'm sticking in. In this process, though, is to where I found Christ. In the midst of all of this, I had that moment like we were just talking about, like, you know what? Enough is enough. I had a fall partner. He come to me one day. He was like, Dunk, because they call me Dunk. He was like, Dunk, if we're ever going to get out of this prison, bro, you got to pray. And I remember sitting on the bed telling him, man, I don't know how to pray. Because I thought that I used to look at the preachers and the pastors on TV, and they used to use all of these big old sophisticated words, and I didn't know any. So that would prevent me from coming to God. Like, he was like, nah, man, like, that's wrong. Like, come to God the way you are. And that was a big problem for me right there. Because all I knew was cuss words. but I had enough sense to know and reverence for God. Watching my grandmother, watching them, like I had enough reverence and respect for God to know though, even though I ain't know how to pray, I'm not about to cuss God. Like I just had that much sense. He was like, nah, man, like just come to God the way you are. Talk to him the way you talk to him. He said, and if you can believe, he said he could do something for you that man can't do. And that just stuck with me. He taught me about faith at that moment. That stuck with me. Like it's like something went off, and I used to pray. At that moment, I started praying. Now, my appeals was getting denied all the time, but I was praying. I used to pray for two things. I used to pray that if I ever go back, I get 10 years credit for time served, because at this time, I'm down like 4 years and 6 months or something. I used to pray for 10 years credit for time served, because in Louisiana, if you do get time, you do half of it. So I'm thinking if I can just get 10 years, I can do half of it. I'd have been down almost 5 years. I can do that. So that would be my prayer at the time. And I used to pray for this high-priced lawyer. His name was Lenny Perez. Now, the problem with Lenny Perez was he used to charge $500,000 just to even see your case. Now, like we didn't have nothing. Like we didn't have no money, no nothing. Like I mentioned, like, I come up eating serb sandwiches. Like it was, I don't know if y'all ever ate a serb sandwich. Y'all
No, what's a
serb sandwich is bread, take some syrup, put it in the middle, and put bread and eat it. That used to be some of our meals that we had to eat coming up. So we didn't have no money, like, and so the struggle was real. And so, but when he told me about faith, I used to pray for those two things. And I remember vividly, I sent my father to go see the lawyer. Everybody in Louisiana know this lawyer. You know, like when the lawyer name is that lawyer. You know what I'm saying? And so I remember my dad, because my dad is a man of faith. But I told my dad, hey, I want you to go see Lenny. Go see Lenny Perez. My dad just got quiet. I'm like, you okay? Like have you lost your mind in here? He thinking I'm losing it. And I'm like, Dad, you say operate off faith. And so my dad went to go see Lenny Perez. And Lenny Perez took my case for free.
Wow.
Oh.
Miracles. We talking about miracles.
Mm-hmm.
500,000. He took my case for free. I'm like, hold up. My dad I'm like, this guy's stuff real. Like this thing is real. Like he's doing the impossible now. And so this was the thing though. So I started getting in the Bible. I started getting in the Word, like reading it. This was my go-to. I had nothing else, and I started seeing things begin to work. Lenny Perez took my case for free. And before this, though, nothing great would just happen because my behavior was still out of line. And I started reading the Word where it says that God can cause all things to work together for the good of those that love him, but I had to do my part. Psalms 1 say, blessed are those who walk not in the counsel of the ungodly. Like, blessed are those who walk not. And so I took the word literally for what it says. So that means that I got to check my circle. The people that I'm hanging with, they not godly. Like, they doing everything opposite. And I want to be blessed. So if I want to be blessed, I have to not hang with the ungodly. And so I did it. I made those adjustments. Lenny Perez took my case for free. He took my case, and one day I'm in a cell, and we get a newspaper in the jail. I hadn't called home in like 2.5 years. I remember getting the newspaper, reading the newspaper. At the top of the heading, it says, to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, teens convictions and sentence overturned. As I'm reading it, it got my name. Like, I dropped the newspaper. I'm thinking, like, man, this can't be real. So I picked it up. I'm reading it. I'm actually in a cell with this guy. His name was Swamp Man, right? We call him Swamp Man because he smelled like the swamp. And, man, I'm like, man, read this. And he was like, man, whoever these two guys here is, man, they lucky. They going home. I literally jumped in his arms, hugging. I'm like, bro, this is me. And so I remember calling home, and my parents, they was, happy. They didn't know the system. They thought I'd come home automatically.
Wait, you read it in a newspaper before
I
you
even know,
heard it?
Because I'm on lockdown, so I can't get mail.
You're not hearing anything in
Yeah,
there?
you don't know.
Wow.
I don't even know what's going on out there. But what happened was the circuit court overturned my sentence. My family knew, the new lawyer knew, Lenny Perez, but I didn't because I'm not calling home. I got a life sentence. The last thing I want to hear about is what's going on out there, so I could be stressed out. I'm in here. And so once I read this, I'm like, man, nobody go home from this prison. I'm like, wait. This, man, I call home, and so I used to pray for Lenny Perez and 10 years credit for time served. So they granted me a new trial. So I ended up going back to the parish prison. I go back to trial. Same courtroom, same DA. I got this lawyer, but now I'm a different person. I'm coming in expecting the favor of God now. Like, I'm expecting something to happen. Like, I done saw all of these miracles, something, like I'm expecting something to happen. And they dressed me out to go back to trial, and they raised up the ledge, and they was like, hey, Mr. Webb, you got an attorney visit. And they called me out, they handcuffed me to the chair, and Lenny had like this long white hair. So he coming out, he was like, hey, son. He like, how are you? He used to do that. He like, I got some good news and some bad news. Which one you want to hear first?
That's always, that is the one thing lawyers always say. Yeah.
So, man, he was like, we got some good news and some bad news. Which one you want to hear first? And, give me the bad.
Yeah, let's get that out of the way.
Yeah, let's get that out the way. Because if I can handle the bad, I'm good with the good, right? And he said, they're coming at you with a plea bargain, a best interest plea bargain. I'm like, well, how much time they talking about? He said they're talking about 10 years credit for time served. Wow. What's the two things I've been praying for, Dave?
Wow.
And he don't know I'm praying for this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at him. I'm like, man, so how much time would I have left? He like, you've been down 4 years and 6 months. You have 6 months left to do. I'm like, man, so Lenny, what's the good news? He like, well, the good news is we got him by the balls. Like, I can take this to trial. Like, I can take this to trial and I can beat him. Like, I know he didn't do anything, but man, I wasn't about to take a chance.
Yeah, that's a gamble.
That's a gamble, man. Let me go ahead and take. You mean to tell me I could get out from a life sentence in 4 months, 6 months? So I ended up taking a best interest plea, and that's how I came home from prison. Wow. Yep.
Damn. That's that's the power of God right there. Yes. I mean, I got like a similar, and this, you're the guest, but I'll give a quick little story that's similar. When I was in there, I gave up. I gave complete control to God. I think it was like 2 months in. And then, like I told you, as soon as I did that, I talked out loud to him in my cell, and I could feel like the weight lifted off me. And then I had the similar experience where you just feel like the power of God with you all the time, and you're like, okay. And not to say everything's like easy in there, but you feel more comfortable, and you're like, okay, like He has your back. Yeah. And then I started praying to Him and asking Him for other things, and I don't think I've ever said this I didn't put this in my book or anything, but the day before, when Trump was president at the time, he actually got me out of prison.
Trump did?
Yeah, he sent out a tweet. He was like, this guy needs to be, because I hadn't been to trial yet. They had me as a pretrial prisoner for 9.5 months before I even got to go to trial. And so I prayed that night before. I was like, God, if somebody's going to intervene, because I had heard that the president might intervene. I was like, if Trump's going to intervene, then, be so that if that's your will, then, I'm ready for it. I hope it does happen. And literally the next day we were walking to chow or lunch, and one of the prison guards stopped me and was like, did you see what happened? I'm like, no. She's like, the president just tweeted about you, and you're getting out today.
Whoa.
And that, yeah, I mean, that right there, and that's the power of prayer. That's like, and that's why I try to explain to people, I'm like, if you give complete control to Him and have complete faith in Him, He will do right by you, and I'm living proof, you're living proof. There's so many other people out there living proof, which is, I'm glad that you're on here telling this story and giving those examples, because they're real.
Yes.
Yes.
And wow, like, just hearing what you just said, God has the power to touch the heart of the president.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is too hard for God. Nothing is too big. You prayed the very next day. This guy is showing you, and it's like, okay, you're going to notice me. Like, that's why I love sharing my story. Like, I can't take the glory for this.
Yeah, no.
You can't take the glory for that. Wow.
What's wild in yours is that both two things that you had, 10 years time served, right? And then
The lawyer.
Lenny Perez, right?
Yep.
Both two things specific. You think God, and God doesn't always, you can't be like, okay, like you pray for something over and over, like God's going to do that. He's not Santa Claus, but but do you think he specifically did that for you just to cement it in you of like, hey, this was me.
Yes.
This was me, and I got plans for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That did it. That did it for me. Like, can nobody tell me, God? You know when you have those times to where can't no one tell you nothing about God. Like, they didn't come at me with 11 years or 12 or 20.
Nope.
Because I would have took it. You know, I got a life sentence. They came at me with exactly what I prayed for. So that really helped me, man. That did something for me to where to this day we're talking about it now. Like, yeah.
Same for me. What was that last 6 months like in?
Oh man, so they took me from that prison from the time I left there, the time that I left Angola and went back for a new trial. They still had me on account in Angola because nobody go home, so they thinking I'm just coming on a court order, and well, he's gonna come back like everybody else do.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you may go back, but they know you're not about to get out. The way that the system is in Louisiana, way everything's set up, like there's no chance for you coming back. You think so? The guards talk to you like this. Everybody talk to you like this. Like, hey,
Oh yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like you're not coming back. So they kept my bed open for me and everything. Well, I never came back there. The next time that I came to that prison, I came as who I am today, speaking in the same prison, getting brothers set free. So so those last 6 months that I did, I never went back there. I ended up going to like a work release for 6 months. And man, it was like, that was probably the longest 6 months of my life because I was so anxious to come home. And
Yeah, you saw the lights at the end of the tunnel.
yes,
Yeah,
man, like I was preparing, like I'm thinking about what I'm about to eat. I don't want to eat no prison food no more. I definitely don't want to hear these jailhouse stories no more. So it was just amazing, man. I was ready to see my family. I could dream again. You know, I went to thinking about trips that I would take because I would always walk the prison yard. They used to have airplanes that used to fly over. So I was one to where I started reading the word and I started receiving it. That if I can see it and speak it, it can become a reality for me. And so even though I was in prison with a life sentence, I would speak to the airplanes. I would say, one day I'm going to be going to Atlanta. One day I'm going to be in the Bahamas on that one right there. One day, and people used to think I was tripping, but I was speaking these things into existence. And to this day, every plane that I spoke to, I travel there and speak today. Mm-hmm. So I pray that somebody is watching this, take this nugget and speak life because it's real. So, yeah. So I got prepared for them 6 months, and it was, yeah.
When you got out and got back, was there, I mean, one of the biggest things is guys getting out of jail, you know, and going right back to the same lifestyle. Was there a big pull for that when you got out?
So actually I did that. Mm-hmm. But I had a plan, Dave, before I got out. You know, I told God what probably everybody probably do. You get me out of this one, I ain't gonna do it no more.
He probably hears that a million times a day. Yeah.
Yes. You get me out of this one, God, I promise. Listen, I'm not gonna do it. And I meant that though.
Yeah.
At the time, I really meant that. And
yeah.
I think that's why God honors it. Because he know. Like, he's all knowing and all doing. He know I'm going to mess up. But it's about your heart.
Yep.
He knew my heart was to do the right thing. But by the time I came home, I had to wrote the vision down, made it plain. Like, God, I got it. I'm about to work for you and everything. But at this time, Boosie became like this big old the rapper. Mm-hmm. And so he was like the #1 rapper, had the #1 song out. And so they was waiting on me at the gate. Mercedes Benz, a whole lot of money and everything. And so my plans I toured the world and my plans went a whole nother way. And so
when you got out, Boosie was waiting for you.
Yeah, at the gate with a lot of money, cars, women, free everything. Like, and I'm like I know they was telling me it was like this, but I couldn't see it. So when I came out, all my plans went a whole nother way, and so we toured the world. He was this rapper, and it was just nonstop. Experiencing something that I never experienced, like in the industry lane. So I became this rapper, like rolling with him everywhere. Like, this my brother. Like, yeah, this my man. So everything free.
Did you feel like when you got out, and obviously you went right into that, and that's not a bad life to go right into, obviously, coming out of prison. You're like, right. Oh, sweet, now I'm getting all this. Yes. And did you feel at the time like, oh, all right, God, thank you. You know, like, thank you for blessing me with this? Or did you feel like it was opposite, like they were taking you away from God?
That's what I felt. I felt like I let God down. But so all the way to I felt as though, because I made a pact with God, I gave God a promise. And I've always, like, I'm real, Ed. Like, I'm a realist. So I wanted to keep my word with God. And I knew when I went the other way, I was doing the wrong thing. Yeah. Is right in front of me, but I know I'm doing the wrong thing. So I will always pray. Like, I will always pray. Like, no matter what, God, just watch over me. Like, when we going in the clubs, like, I feel out of place. You know, and I just knew, I just feel like it wasn't right. Like, I had let God down, but I hadn't got in it. Like, we was in it, because you seeing so much money. Yeah. Like, you seeing money. Like, you might get, for a verse, you might get $50,000 for 15 minutes. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You might do a concert. Boosie might do a concert for $500,000 for 30 minutes.
That's like a down payment for.
So it's like, so it's like, you know, that versus go and get a job.
Yeah, he's like
coming out of prison. I got a record. Writing on my application, murder. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I don't have to do that. And so, but the relationship that I had with God, I will always hear the voice of God, because I remember hearing it in the cell. So he would talk to me like, what you doing? And I try to get high to try to, you know, like, block it.
Silence that voice. Yeah.
And it didn't work until it just,
yeah. What turned the corner then? How long did you do that for?
So I did that from, I would say, a good 7 years, 5 to 7 years. Wow. So Boosie ended up getting locked up for 8 murders. So he got locked up on a weed charge, and while he was in there on the weed charge, they indicted him on 8 murders. Jeez. He ended up in Angola. In the cell I was in, my name was on the wall, like Trell was here. You know how you write that on the wall in the jails and stuff? So he ended up in the same, what's the chances? The same exact cell I was in. And so at this time, I ended up moving to Atlanta, and I started rapping. Let's get this straight, though, Dave. I was not a good rapper. I don't think so. Listen. I don't think I was a great rapper. I just
like, you think you were better than me and Eddie at rapping?
I don't know, but I'm good at beats. So I would like to see we could have a little freestyle. Y'all ever had a freestyle session?
We can do a battle. Yeah, we can do a battle.
Come on, let's see. So let's see what you got, Dave.
Nothing. I got nothing. I can't keep a beat.
So man, so I started rapping, and it worked. So I started touring the world and stuff, and Boosie ended up going to trial. It was all over the news and stuff. He get found not guilty, so he's about to come home. I'm the rapper on the label, next up, making all of this money. And remember, though, I would always pray in the morning. So one day, I was brushing my teeth. I had an encounter with God. Like, God came visit me. I was brushing my teeth one day, just thanking God. I got video guys downstairs, in-house studio, like, it's on. And I just started crying and couldn't stop. Had an encounter with God, and God told me to stop rapping. He say he sent all the money deposits back, stop rapping. I'm like, this can't be God. Because I don't have a plan B. Like, this is all I know. He like, stop rapping. I'm like, no. He like, send it back. Send the money back. I'm like, no. He like, send it back. And I finally submitted and surrendered to God in my bathroom this day. That was 2014, 15. And he said, I'm going to send you all around the world, everywhere y'all went, but you're going to go for me. And I haven't stopped yet. So that day I had an encounter with God, and it changed my life. I gave God a yes. And the rest of it history. Here I am.
Dude, that is so awesome. So here, do you think, and this is just, I'm thinking through like your story, you know, because it's very, very similar to where, you know, I got out. I've never felt closer to God than when I was locked up, like, and having everything taken from me. That I had probably the closest relationship with Him I've ever had. And then when you get out and you're going back into the world, I went away from Him, not on purpose, but it was like the world sort of pulls you in. But then, you know, for about a couple years, I would say I was not having the same relationship I had with Him when I was locked up.
Right.
But I didn't feel right. Like, you know, there's something, like, everything I'm doing, I don't feel 100%.
Like an incongruence.
Yeah, like something is not right until I, you know, just probably like a year and a half ago, I went back and I have conversations with Him every day. The same thing I did in my cell, and that right there makes me feel back to like 100%. Right. But I think, you know, thinking back on it, that's another way of God letting you know, like, hey, you're going back into the world. There you go, you know, son, and I'm going to be watching you, and I will see what you do, but you will, like, you can make that whatever decision you want, but you will not feel 100%, because if you're not talking to me every day and having complete faith in me, and it's sort of like a test. Like, there you go, man, go do it on your own, like you know, most normal humans would do, or men would do, and then you will come back to me, you know.
So, and you're absolutely right. So for me, that happened. Then I realized where it says in Matthew 6:33, seek first. He say, seek first the kingdom. In other words, seek first me. Say, aim at, strive after the relationship. He's speaking about a relationship, the intimacy, like you was doing when you was in that cell, when you had to call on me and I moved on the heart of the president. Like what you was doing when you was praying and you got this lawyer for $500,000. Like, you remember how you was seeking me then?
Yep.
Like, don't forget. That's all he's saying. Like, hey, don't forget, because the same way you needed me then, you're going to need me now, because your children is going to act crazy. People are going to be coming up against you. Like, it's still the same thing. He say, seek me first.
Yep.
And he said, if you do that, all this other stuff that you're chasing and putting before me anyway is going to be added to you. I just need you to seek me first. And so, man, one of the greatest lessons that he taught me with that is to where every day I get up and I spend time with Him.
Yep.
Every day. Like, if I don't do it, I don't feel right.
Yeah.
It's like something is going to go wrong. Like, it's like I'm a fail a test. And so by me making sure that I don't want to fail a test, I have to make sure I'm close to Him. And that's all He wants. He's just a great, great Father.
Yeah.
That's all He wants, is that intimacy with Him. And so that's why He say, seek Him first. If you do that, all this other stuff is going to come. And I'm an example of that. Like, life is great. When I tell you, this is the greatest life ever. The freedom. There's freedom come with God.
Yeah.
There's freedom, you know? Like, freedom to love, freedom to just serve, man. Like, just serve people. The goal is to serve as many people as you can while you're here, because you're only here for a little while. Yep. That's all this is about. So, yeah.
Dude, what a wild story. Now, you're now a pastor.
Yep.
You brought your whole ministry team in here.
Shout out to Christian Life Center Worldwide in Atlanta, Georgia. Shout out to One is the young adult ministry. And so we travel the world just impacting lives. That's what we do. Just people that have stories like this. God done placed all of us together. Like, I'm from Louisiana and we eat gumbo. And so I don't know if you ever had gumbo, but if you get some gumbo, if you put all the ingredients on the table, like my mom used to do this. She used to put all of this stuff on the table. And I used to be like, this is about to be the nastiest thing ever. Because it just don't look like it makes sense together. But when you put it together, it's the best taste it is. Well, that's how it is with ministry. That's how it is with what we're doing. Like you got a professional drummer, you got a photographer, you got an engineer, you got the couple. It's just so many things together, and God have placed us together and made us one. And we get a chance to go around and just loving, serving, and sowing into other people's life. And it's just the most amazing thing I've ever experienced in life. And so, I'm a pastor now. I'm a father of 5. I'm happily married. Shout out to my wife, Tia. She's a realtor in Atlanta. She used to be my getaway driver. I know she gonna get me for sharing this. And so
that's your ride or die right there.
Yes.
I got one
ride or
myself.
live now though. Yeah. So it's been her. She's been with me before any of this. Yeah. She saw something in me that I didn't see, man. And so it's only right that I serve her. Like I love my family. I love people. I love to serve. I just love it because God gave me another chance. So now I get a chance to give other people another chance. So I just have fun doing it. So
You do prison ministries like consistently?
Yeah. So I travel around the world pretty much doing prison ministries. And what's so cool about God, when you seek God first, all the other things, he will give you the desires of your heart. My desire was to go into the prisons and stuff. This was so cool about God, right? When you seek him first, you're seeking God, what's the will you have for my life? And once you understand what the will of God is for your life, you can line up your desires with his will. So one of the things that I wanted to do was go back into prisons and help those brothers out because I've been there. I know what it feels like to not get mail. I know what it feels like, but I also know that if you can do what I did, your situation, nothing is too hard for God. Look at me and you.
Yeah.
Like, you got the president let you, like, nothing is too hard. But it was God. It wasn't the president that got you out.
It was all God.
It was God. And so I get a chance to go back into these places. But what's so cool about it is, until now, because now I do, it got to the point to where I had to get these things. But at first, I didn't have a website. Like, I didn't have a business card. I didn't have all of this stuff that you would think you got to have to get started. No, all you have to do is have God. And he will put everything else you need into place. And so now I have these things, but I travel to different prisons. I go anywhere. Anywhere I can tell someone about what God has done in my life, I come. We have a nonprofit organization to where God did it so cool as to where he took it back where it started, juvenile systems. So we have an impact, it's called Real Life Impact that me and my wife have. So we go into the different juvenile systems and we have a curriculum, an evidence-based curriculum that impact and change their life. And so right now we're in Louisiana, aiming at Mississippi, just anywhere want it. It's new, but it's working.
What's one of the coolest stories you have of other prisoners going in there and helping them?
I would say, so it's because it's a lot of them. One of the coolest things that I had is when I go into the juvenile system in Louisiana, the murder rate is high. So, like, you got the average ages is from 14 to 17. So out of 57 of them that's in there, 42 of them are charged with murder. Like, this is how real this is. Mm-hmm. You know, so you can just imagine what the atmosphere is. And so for me I travel there once a month. So for me to fly down there once a month and go in there and see how their life have changed just from the presence. So I might go in there, they may have just had a fight. And so when I come there, for me to be able to get both of them out their cell and sit them down and show them how to resolve conflict resolution, things that I didn't know. For me, that's one of the greatest things that I get a chance to experience, what someone who just committed a heinous crime like this, that I can sit down and with them and infuse them and show them a better way of how to handle situations. And so,
what I love about that, Trell, is is it's not like, you know, sensational story of like cathartic moments or big like emotional deals, but it's a practical, like what they like what a lot of those guys really need. Like you're meeting those needs, right? I mean, Jesus tells us to do that and focusing on really, you know, giving them skills. If people want to help you or donate, I mean, in real life, you're flying a plane down there. You're going in like you also gotta. You have 5 kids. You got to make money too. Yeah. If people wanted to donate or help out, what would be the best way to do it?
So we have, like I said, we have the nonprofit organization, which is Real Life Worldwide nonprofit organization. Or you can contact me personally.
Okay.
And because, like I say, all of this coming from, I just serve. I serve. And so I haven't been waiting on no one to just do something because the need for help is there. As I'm going in these prisons and stuff, like, they can't wait on the resources to come. I just been blessed to be put in a position to where now I understand that God have blessed me to go in places. But like you say, resources, it take resources. So our nonprofit organization, which is Real Life Worldwide, is where everything is pretty much channeled through. Yeah. To where I'm the sole CEO. Like I said, I have a team that's with me, and it's what we do.
Yeah. Well, and so with people that don't have a story like yours, I mean, maybe some of their ways to serve is, you know, they'll help give money or help, you know, fulfill a need that you have so that they're helping support you. I'll leave some links down in the
description. So you can email Real Life Worldwide CEO, Real Life Worldwide CEO. You can email your information. And we have a team that's in position to reach back to anybody that do want to be a part of it. So even if you want to be a part of it in your city or in your town, or would like to bring the program to your city, just email that Real Life Worldwide CEO, or you can contact us at 678-435-2125. Like, you can really contact us. It's simple. Yeah. It's not hard to help. One of the things that I wanted to make sure that we do is don't make it hard.
Yeah.
If you want to help, call the number 678-435-2125. And someone off the team would serve you, or just email Real Life Worldwide CEO, Real Life Worldwide CEO @gmail.com.
Have you had anybody that you've helped end up joining the team?
Most definitely. That's what the team is.
Yeah. It's okay, good.
So, like, that's what most of the team that you will see. So if you see me on social media, or most of those guys that you see serving with me, they was once in those positions that we help out. So now most of them are business owners. Some of them just closed on their new homes. They married. A lot of the young ones that's coming out now, we have job tunnels for them to come out, get their GED, get a trade, plug them. Soon as they come out, one of the things that I tell them, listen, if nothing changes, nothing changes. Call me. When you come out, call me. And even if they show the progress of change while they're in there, because I know it can be done. I'm a product of what it is that we're going in here and do. This is what makes the difference. I'm a product of what it is that I'm sitting down with them doing. I'm a product of this program that worked. It pretty much was developed by me sitting down in the middle of a room and my team looking at who I was and what would it have taken to change my life. And what was created was this program. And so to go in here and see it, and I'm hands-on with what's happening now, because the generations change. Like, if you're a parent, you know.
Oh, yeah.
It changes. Yep. Like, it changes. And so I'm a youth pastor also. I'm a youth pastor. That's what I do. I'm a youth pastor. Shout out to Fly Ministry. So we might see like 100 or so youth each weekend. But just being able to reach them right where they are, it's a proven fact. So I just try to make it easy for someone that does want to help.
What do you see? So the big differences. So you're you're ministering to the youth. These kids coming up now, and it is different, right? What do you see as far as like the differences between the way you came up and then the way these kids are coming up now? As far as I guess, negative and positive aspects.
Right. So one of the things, and great question too, and one of the, because I get asked this a lot, especially by parents. And a lot of times I like to tell the parents, don't wait till it's too late. And it's real simple. I like to call it the sandwich mechanism. When you and I were coming up, we had the sandwich mechanism, meaning that we would have someone to tell us what to do and what not to do at home. Either you would have someone older, like your grandmother, or someone in the neighborhood that had wisdom that will come around and put some meat in the middle, pretty much tell you the same thing. And when you go back home, you're going to get the other piece of bread to where somebody else is going to tell you that. And you put that together, you eat off of it, and 9 times out of 10, you make the right decision. So you ended up having respect for your elders. You ended up helping people. And you know, out of 10 people, 8 of us would turn out great. You know what I'm saying? Well, nowadays, the missing factor is you have the bread to where you're telling them what to do, but most of the grandparents and stuff at the age have died off, or the people that was there's no longer there. Or if mentors don't have the respect that they should when it comes to a young person, so they really not listening. So what they go to, social media, electronics, that's not saying the same thing that you're saying. So the meat in the middle of the sandwich is no longer there. And so what they biting off now is called the air bread, air sandwich, to where you're eating bread with no meat.
I like that analogy.
You see what I'm saying? And so you can't get full off of that. And so where someone like myself come in, I'm saying the same thing that you're saying. The biggest thing with a young person today is communication. Just listening. That's all they want you to do is listen. They just have a cool way and an awkward way sometimes of expressing themselves.
Yep.
But just listen. Take the time just to listen. Sometimes it just may be listening while they playing the video games. You can't get distracted like, hey, you're not listening to me? Like, I am listening, but they go back to the games.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
But they paying attention now. They just have a funny way of doing it. And so if you can take those small approaches and you will see a difference, because they do not want to know how much you know until they know how much you care. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so that's my thing, just spending that time just to listen. You may take them out and don't say nothing about what you came for the first 2 times.
But you're taking that time to take them out.
Taking that time
Yeah,
to take
and
them
that
out.
does have an effect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. And so we in a world to where things are moving so fast to where nobody is taking the time to listen. So we see suicide is at an all-time high, especially with our young people. Like, that's one of the go-tos that the enemy use, because if he can get you to kill yourself, you're not killing what made you want to kill yourself, because you made it through that. You're killing your future. So his job is to stop you from being great, to get in your mind, to make you kill yourself so you can
Tell
stop.
you lies.
Yeah, he's a liar.
Yep.
He's a liar. So
He's the ultimate liar.
yeah, so that's why I'm excited about, and I shared our program, man, because it's 100% proven it worked. You know, Dave, it works. It works. So yeah,
Dude, awesome. It is awesome having you hearing this story and just the little nuggets of wisdom. What would you give someone that is caught up in the streets or rap game or like anything that you had experienced? What advice would you give them if they have a moment where they're just open and really hearing from God now?
yeah. The grass is green on this side. Everything that you're everything that you're experiencing over there, it's smoke and mirrors. It's a lot. The game is called ball till you fall. That's the motto. Ball till you fall. You're guaranteed to fall. If you are tired of falling, come on this side. Like to where you experience happily ever after. Like, it's real. I'm a product of it, you know? So I encourage the person, like, hey, listen, give God a try for real. What does that look like? Just like I did. Hey, but you got to be sick and tired of being sick and tired. You got to be tired.
Yeah.
Like, you got to be at that place to where you had enough.
Yeah, rock bottom.
Yeah, you got to be at rock bottom. And the rock bottom for you, that don't have to be the way you lose everything. That can be rock bottom in your emotions.
Yes.
You just tired. Quit while you ahead. Like quit with while you got something. to where you don't have to lose out everything, you know? And so I encourage that person that listen to this, please hear me out. If nothing changes, nothing changes. If nothing changes, nothing changes. And I really need that to set in, because if you don't change what you're doing, nothing is going to change. But if you do want great results, God is the way, and he love you.
Amen.
God love you with everything that you've done, everything that I've done. It made God love me more. So, yeah, that's my advice, Dave.
Awesome.
Yeah, brother. Hey, dude, seriously, I appreciate you coming on here and telling your story. I mean, I don't think you could tell that story enough. I hope that you're able to go on more podcasts, because people like you, man, like you've been through it, right? You've been through the ringer. You know, you went to prison for something you didn't do. And I'll tell you this, like, you remained steadfast while you were in there and not, you know, giving up information, which says a lot to your character as well, to make your situation better. But the fact that, you know, you turned to God in there, you found him in there, and then, you know, he blessed you with getting out, gave you exactly everything that you asked for. But then even when you got out, went that direction, you know, with rapping and making all the money, the fact that you gave all that up and pretty much followed God again is, to me, one of the most powerful things that you did, because I don't think that that's an easy decision for people. Right. But I do say, you know, one of my favorite verses that I would read in there, and I'm a horrible Christian because I can't remember like the scriptures. I don't know. But, you know, count it all joy when you fall into various trials. Like, that is probably one of my favorite verses, because you would not be doing what you're doing now without going through that fire and being able to come out. And now you're doing the Lord's work and you're paying it forward, which is what God wants for all of us. As soon as he touches you and he blesses you, you are doing exactly what he wants you to do, which is pass that message on to others and save others, man. And I felt it when you walked in here today. Like, I was like, this guy's energy, I could feel it. Yeah. So it's been a blessing just hearing your story. Yeah.
I appreciate y'all for allowing me to come and serve. I'm honored.
Dude, I've gotten a lot out of it, honestly. Yeah. You know, what I love about your story is that you have this huge, I mean, specifically those two things. You get out of prison, right? And you think, oh, surely this guy is going to be devoted to God from here on out, right? And then it's the real story, right? We're not good. Yeah. And we go south, right? Yes. And you go south, and it ends up being the moment when you're just in the bathroom brushing your teeth, you know? Yes. And you really, that whatever aligned inside you and God really got through.
Because it's all about relationship. Mm-hmm. That's the difference with someone. That's why I love who I am today, because I get a chance to show people what real is. Like, real is to where you can let God use you, turn your mess into a message for real. Because we all got mess that needs to be turned to a message. But if you keep it undercover, it can't be a message. I never imagined in a million years. Like I grew up a shy person. Like, you know, like, I was the worst person in my family. I was the black sheep, the worst on the block. And so, you know, the hardcore guy, he don't talk much.
Yep.
You know, like, that was me. I never thought I can talk this long. Like, I never thought, like, this would be me. But God did. He knew that he would use all of this stuff. So, like, even when you looking at my mouth, right? So, because I saw you looking, Dave, like, I wonder what happened to this guy's mouth. I wasn't born like this, Dave, right? God is so great. What I didn't share was, coming from a Boozy concert one night, a car pulled up on the side of us. This when I got out of prison, and supposedly mistaken the car, and somebody just shot one time, and it hit me in my mouth. It went through my face, went through here, knocked out half of my mouth, went through my tongue, and it came out my neck. And so the vocal cord part that's in, I remember laying on the bed in the hospital, bloody and stuff, and I was blacking in and out, like half of my mouth gone, my teeth gone, and my gums gone. And I remember just hearing the doctor say, he's telling my family, because they was going crazy, he's gonna live, but you would never be able to hear him again because the vocal part that's in my throat is not in there. Like, so they say but can you hear me now, Dave?
I can hear you.
That's 2 doctors that got it wrong in your life.
So,
yeah.
man,
Awesome.
I can't help but to give God the glory.
Yeah.
It's him. So I just be trying to tell people, like, listen, look. Like, it's real. Like, look at you can't deny this. I'm telling you what happened. But not only that, though, look at the fruit of my life now, too. Own a couple businesses, living life great, full of joy. Like, who wouldn't want this life? Oh, man, so I'll start preaching, Dave. Please stop, because I get to talk about the goodness of God, and I can't help it because of what he's done for me. I am not the same person. He turned my life around. He blessed me with great people in my life. He blessed me to meet this don't just happen. We didn't know each other. This God.
Totally.
Through relationships, though. You got relationship over religionship.
Yes.
Religion keep you in bondage. Relationships keep you free.
Yep. And I can't stress that enough either. You know, I
Yes.
grew up Catholic.
Yeah.
You know, my dad was strict, went to church every Sunday. It was very religious, you know, kneel, stand, do this. And then that was what I thought a relationship with God was growing up. Like, you know, I have to go to church. I have to do these things. And it wasn't until, you know, I started having my own relationship with him. I put all that other religious crap aside, and I was like, just talking to him one-on-one, which I do every morning, like he's one of my boys.
Yes.
Like, you know, and that's, I try to tell people that too. I'm like, dude, because a lot of people have this false impression of what, you know, you call it Christianity or whatever, you know, having a relationship with God, that well, I can't do that because I don't go to church, or I'm not going to do this and this. I'm like, you don't need to do any of that. You don't even need to read the Bible.
Yeah.
I'm like, you just need to talk to him. Talk to him every morning, and you will gradually start getting closer with him. And yeah, then you get in the Word and start reading that. And I was like, and you don't even have to understand the Word. Just read it.
Yes.
That's where I'm at. I mean, that's what I do.
Most definitely.
I read it, and then if I go back and read the same passage again, maybe until I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. But that's just a little part of it. The biggest part is my relationship with him and the way I talk to him and the way he talks back to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Most definitely. Because the church is a hospital for the sick. It's not a country club for the saved.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody that's in that parking lot, every car you see represents a problem. And we all coming there for one purpose. It's for God to heal us.
Yep.
And so, man,
Bring me, you're sick, you're tired, you're weak.
Yeah, man, you tired, you weak, because you can't do this by yourself. It's no way you can be great without God. It's no way. So when you put stipulations on what that look like, that's bondage. The word says, 2 Corinthians 3:17, wherever the Holy Spirit is, there is liberty and freedom. So the opposite is, wherever he's not, there is bondage.
Yep.
So,
100%.
yeah, man.
I love it.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you, Trell, so
Man,
much.
I thank
Yeah,
y'all
brother.
for having me, man.
Yeah, man.
This has been amazing.
Yeah, man, it's been a pleasure having you on.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you for your whole team coming out here and doing all this.
Shout out to the squad, man.
Shout out to the
Yep.
squad.
It's
Awesome.
beautiful weather here. I think
yeah.
we might try some surfboarding or something. I've never done that, but
This is a perfect place to do it.
yep. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right. Out.
I want to thank everybody for listening in on this episode of Shoot Me Straight. If you enjoyed this episode or any other episodes we have put out, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel.